Kia ora, bros and girls, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about the completion of Ultron's Assault, which is the very first variant. So we're going to go through the easiest path and how to best deal with Chapter 1. Okay. Now first of all, let's look a little bit at the rewards and see what you can get. And Chapter 1 is actually really not that bad once you get your head around it. It definitely is not that bad to complete. And I would almost say it's pretty easy to explore fully as well. So first thing is, if you complete Chapter 1, you're going to get a free rank 2 to rank 3 gem, which will help, and some blue shards. So it's pretty good, and it helps you work towards completion of the event. And if you complete the event just once through without the exploration, you get a rank up gem, a 5-star rank up gem, so you can take someone straight from rank 3 to 4. You get some 5-star crystal shards, you get some T5Bs, and you get some 6-star shards. Okay, so to be fair, Chapter 1 is not terrible, and you only really need 2 champions to make it through this entire chapter. Okay, now I've got 3 that worked really well for me. There's some that you can substitute, but the one that you really need is Gambit. Yes, Gambit. Yep, we're talking about Gambit. Yep, you've got a 6-star Gambit. You know, when you pull this guy and you go, oh my god, oh crap, I pulled a Gambit, oh, what a waste of my 6-star shards. That might be the best thing that ever happened to you, because if you have this guy as a 6-star or a 5-star rank 3, or even just sitting there at 4-star rank 4 or something, and you're able to use him, he's going to make variant 1 really easy. Okay. Now, the other 2 I've decided to use, I've only just recently R5 Korg. He wasn't R5 at this point when I was doing V1. But the other 2 that I use are Havoc and Aegon. So Havoc and Aegon are fantastic for this quest. Actually, realistically, you only really need Aegon and Gambit. You can finish it with just those 2, and the other 3 spots are really just making up space. Okay, so with that being said, let's quickly go into map 1 and talk about map 1 in the easiest path. So map 1 has 4 different lines, and the very easiest line to go through is this one here, which is increased power gain and power reserve, which means your special attacks cost 50% less power. Now, what that means with the increased power gain and the power reserve is that you can come in here with Gambit, get up to about 1.5 powers of SP, and just stun lock this entire line. You can just throw SP1 after SP1 after SP1 after SP1, right? And that will work on Emma Frost, and that will work on Vision. Don't worry about getting them to SP3 or having to evade, because they're going to be stunned the entire time. They're never going to throw the SP3. Once you get yourself to 1.5 bars of SP1, then you can continue stun lock. Now with Emma, remember, she needs to have more power than you. So at the beginning, you might have to just evade the first SP1, and then you throw yours. But once you've thrown a couple and she's got more power than you, you can keep her stun locked. With Vision, it doesn't matter. He's going to stay stun locked. With Deadpool, again, it doesn't matter. Yes, he has his regen, and yes, he has double power gain at 30%. But when you're stunned, you can't do damage, so it doesn't matter how much power he has. Then you get to the mini boss, which is Emma. Again, you can use the same thing. Cheese the crap out of her. You just come in with Gambit and stun lock. And so that only leaves one person, which is the boss. Now the boss is a tech drone, and his animations are actually Black Panther, right? His SP1 is Black Panther SP1, and his SP2 is also Black Panther. And all tech drones in the entire variant, any tech drone will be a Black Panther. So this guy, he's pretty easy to evade the SP1 and the SP2. Now he has this thing, he's got a static blast, which doesn't really matter too much. It just means try not to block his SP. You are going to take damage when he throws a special, you are going to take a little bit of damage. So just remember that. The two important things are, I mean, he's got power again, he's got spite, but he doesn't have an SP3. He only has an SP1 and an SP2, so it doesn't really matter. You can just push him to his SP2 and keep hitting him until, you know, he throws the SP2, and then you just evade that. And, okay, you take a little bit of damage, but overall you're probably going to end up killing him. The thing you've got to remember is languor. So languor means that if you ever drop to 0, so if you ever throw an SP3, or you get power drained down to 0, you're going to take 240% of the guy's damage direct. So that means you're instantly going to die, right? So just make sure you don't throw SP3s. Ideally, what you want to do for this, if you have Aegon, is come in with Aegon and just keep hitting into him. And Aegon worked in actually most of the path, I believe. But you can also use Omega, you can use with the Degen, you can use Korg with the unblockable SP1, you can use Havoc. I've used Havoc here as well. And the cool thing with Havoc is once you get him down to 50%, you build your prowess charges enough, you can throw the SP3 because at the end of it, he is probably going to be dead. If you throw, I've got an R5 Havoc, and if I throw the SP3 correctly set up at about 50%, this guy is gone, and it doesn't matter because you're not going to take the direct damage because you already have KO'd him. Okay, so the final boss is actually pretty easy. You can kind of really take anyone in here and just hack away at him and take damage. The hard bit is just getting up to him, and if you have a Gambit, doesn't matter if it's a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, 6-star, you're going to be able to cheese the entire path up until the boss, right? So this map, pretty easy to get through. So let's move on to the second one, okay? So you get in here, you finish this map, you go do it, you pause the video, go finish it off, and then you come back, and I go, okay, hey, welcome back. Let's talk about how to complete map 2 now. So map 2 has a couple of different things. And it's got a different global node. So the first map was all about increased power gain. This map is it's different, and there's a couple of a little bit more difficult path. It gets a little bit harder. You don't want to go down the right side. The easiest path for you is going up here the left, starting with Red Skull, and that gives you Burden of Might. Burden of Might's not really anything major. It basically just means that if you dex, you're going to lose some power. So ideally you don't want to dex, and if you do have to dex, what I would do is I'd normally parry. So I would I don't dash back, I would just parry Red Skull, and then while he's parried and stunned, I would dash back. And then you definitely, it doesn't count as a dex, and you don't lose that power, right? So that's a good way to just, you know, dash back, but without dexing, without losing power, and that way you can keep throwing the SP1s and you can keep building your combo. Now again, in this one, the one that helped me the most was Aegon. And pretty much the first fight is actually incredibly cool because it's against Red Skull, and if he keeps throwing SP1s, it's going to be a long fight, and you're going to be able to continue throwing SP1s. And so by the end of the first fight, if you have an Aegon, you're going to be running at 100 plus combo, which is great. You're going to be charged up for the rest of the map. So with Red Skull, you don't really want to push him to his SP2. Just push him to the SP1, evade the SP1. It's pretty easy to evade, and you know, carry on. With Hood, it's the same. Evade the SP1. Keep going in. It's pretty easy. Don't push him to the SP2. If you do, you're screwed. With Rhino, by this time you probably have 100, 200 combo in the bank with Aegon, if you're running Aegon, which is what I was running. And this one is all about just getting him into the corner. Just get him into the corner and just keep pounding at him. And then the SP1 is pretty easy to evade. The SP2 is pretty easy to evade. You don't want to create space between you and Rhino. If you're playing at variant level, you probably already know this. If you choke Rhino, then he can't dash at you, he can't become unstoppable, he can't become unblockable, right? So you keep him in the corner, and all you do is you just manage his power, and you evade the SP1s, the SP2s, and you get in and you continue building. So he's pretty easy. And then really, it doesn't really matter which path you go from here. It doesn't matter if you go up left to Doctor Strange or right. But either way, you're going to have to meet this skill drone. Now, this skill drone is actually Cyclops' movement. So Cyclops is SP1 and his SP2. Now, if you're quite good at evading those, you probably won't have any trouble. If you are struggling to evade those, I think Dork Dickety Dave has he's got a really good video on how to evade the SP1, the timing of the SP1 and the SP2. And if you watch that and practice a little bit, you'll be able to evade this no problem. If you're too useless to evade it, and some days and sometimes I've been a little bit noob with it, you can just block it. Just block the SP1. He doesn't do a heck of a lot of damage, right? So he does have Burden of Might on this path, which is probably a little bit easier than going up left, but that's dulled. So either way, it doesn't matter. So if you go right, you get one less fight, and you avoid the Science drone, which is actually Electro as well. So then you continue going up there, through Rhino, through the Cyclops drone, and then you come to a mini boss, which is basically a weaker version of the Black Panther that you've already fought. He's just a lot weaker. He doesn't have as much life. He's got Bane of the Hambala, which doesn't really matter. So you come in here probably with Aegon and finish him off. He's pretty easy. And then you're back up to the final boss. Now, the final boss is a mutant drone. And this mutant drone has Electro's animation. His SP1, his SP2. I'll tell you something. Because he's not actually Electro, by the time you get to this guy, you might be a little bit rusty. You might be like, ah. And also, the SP1, I feel like it's changed a little bit. At least I've noticed it has in the last few releases. And you have to be really far away from it to miss. It's not just about dashing back at the right time. It's a little bit like Yellow Jacket's SP1 in that if you're too close when he throws it, like probably half or 2/3 of the screen, if you're that close, even if you dash back at the right time, you're still going to get clipped. So if you're going to work on evading his SP1, make sure that you give a lot of distance for him to throw it. And then when he throws it, make sure you're well far away. And then that way you can come back in, you can parry, or if you're feeling quite comfortable, you can go back in and intercept. The SP2, it's also a little bit tricky because he kind of hits the ground and throws this shockwave. And if you're quite close to him, it's almost at the timing of when he hits the ground, you can evade it. You can dash back at that time. But if you're a bit further, that becomes you dashing too early, and you can get clipped. And I've made that mistake multiple times on this guy. Luckily, I've never had to revive. I've just had a kind of backup, because really, I mean, Aegon will clear the whole map, and then you can't have 4 other people to finish him off anyway. But yeah, so just be careful of that. Maybe practice a little bit on Electro and evading his SP1 and SP2. But other than that, this guy, it's not really much of a problem. He will go unblockable if he has a regen. Now, I don't think he actually has any way of generating a regen apart from one of his specials. I think his SP1 has a chance to trigger a regen. And then he's got like enhanced regen and stuff. The main annoying thing about this guy is pilfer, which means that if you're using Aegon, he'll continue pilfering away your furies and stuff like that, which is a little bit annoying, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, your furies don't last that long anyway. So, and then you're basically done with this map. So you bring in Aegon, and it's all done. So pause this, go finish map 2, and then come back, and then we'll talk about map 3. Okay, so map 3, so by now you've paused, you've finished map 2, you've come back here, and we're talking about map 3. Map 3, again, it's a little bit different, but it's not too terrible also to complete, right? So it's you've got quite a few lines here, quite a few different paths. You definitely don't want to go left and right. initially, because that's quite hard. So ideally, what you want to do is you want to go straight up the guts. So straight up the guts, you've got this masochism local node. The global node is like a nullify one, which is a non-node anyway. And then straight up the guts is this masochism node. So it means every 7 seconds, the next debuff triggered on this champ is immediately removed, and they regen 5%. So basically, you can't parry, or your first parry is going to get shaken off, a little bit like Ice Armor with Iceman. You have to, and they can regen 5%, and then you can parry again. So with with Aegon, this is pretty easy. You come in here, you head into Carnage, start building up, and once he's got that first SP1 or SP2, it's pretty easy. Evade the SP1, go in, throw your SP1, right? Build up your combo, throw in your SP1. Pretty easy. The good thing as well is it's only like 6 energy to get straight in, so even if you mess it up on your first try, you can come in, experiment a couple of times, and then get the hang of it. And once you got the hang of it for Carnage, you're gonna be set for the rest of the line. The rest of the line is pretty easy as well. So you've got Symbiote Spider-Man. Now he can evade a little bit, but by this time you've built a little bit of combo on your Aegon. You may be able to get to true accuracy on Symbiote Spider-Man, so you don't have to worry about that. Otherwise, you can just give him the regen on your first parry, and then on the second parry, just do a 3 combo. So just parry medium, light, light, or parry medium, medium. That will give you 3. And then you just keep doing that and building up your combo. Once you got 150 combo with Aegon, you get true accuracy anyway, and you don't have to worry about that. You can just play right through him, and he won't evade. So that's pretty easy. And then you move on to Sabretooth, and he's got Masochism. He's also got a ton of regen, and buffs last 40% longer. Now, Sabretooth is a little bit annoying because his SP1, you can make mistakes on it, but it's easier to evade than his SP2. I find that his SP1, and I fight him all the time in map 6, and I find his SP1 is easier to evade, right? Because you just have to notice when he's kind of going to jump at you, and then you back away. His SP2 is a little bit trickier though. But the good thing about this fight, and the good thing about it being so early, and the good thing about the regen is if you have Aegon here, you're going to build a lot of combo through this fight. You'd probably get into the 200-300s just through this fight, because he regens so much, and every time you hit him, he picks up another regen charge. So it'll be a long fight, but overall it'll actually be good for Aegon to build that combo meter. So just be careful and be aware that it is going to be a bit of a long fight. Your other option, of course, if you're struggling with evading the SP1 or SP2, is you can bring in Archangel for this line as well, and Archangel can completely shut down this whole masochism if you don't want to use Aegon. I just prefer to use Aegon, but if you have a massive or high level Archangel, maybe like a maxed out 4-star or a rank 4-5-star, so long as he's awakened, you should be able to come in here, throw some neurotoxins, completely shut down masochism, completely shut down the heals, and get through this. So if you're struggling with doing Sabretooth, out damaging Sabretooth, you can also just come in with Archangel and completely shut down the regen. That's another strategy, but I liked it for the combo because I was going to use Aegon for the final boss anyway. And then again, you come up straight up the guts. You go through this guy one more time. So this is the 3rd time you face this guy. He's basically Black Panther again as the mini boss. He's a tech drone, just a little bit less stacked, and with masochism, doesn't have an SP3, so you don't need to worry about that. You can play quite aggressively against him. And then here you have 2 different paths. You can go up to Deadpool and Wasp, which has Aspect of Chaos, or you can go Magic and Howard the Duck, which also has Aspect of Chaos. At this point, it really depends on how much life you have. If you go right, you have all that fun and interactive damage. I don't know if at this point in time you'll have Aegon high enough to be able to reduce the ability accuracy and play around magic, but you're going to definitely take a heck of a lot of damage if you go up the right one through magic and the Thunderquack from Howard. So you can prepare to die that way, or you could take a ton of damage, wait until the Aspect of Chaos switches over, turn around and kill them, and then you end up on high life. But if you if you're not super confident with that way, I would definitely go Deadpool and Wasp. I found that easier also because at this point in time, yes, Wasp is a little bit tricky to play against, but at this point in time, if you're using Aegon, you've definitely got true accuracy and you don't need to worry about her at all. And she has poor as block proficiency anyway, so Aegon can just punch right through her block. And of course, if you're using Archangel, parry heavy is definitely a good way to go here as well, and it will shut down. So one way to play around this entire line is if you have a high level Archangel or a duped Archangel, he'll shut down the entire line quite easily. And then again, you come back up against Sabretooth. This time he doesn't have Masochism, so he's actually easier than the first time, but the buffs last 40% longer. So again, a long fight, probably a shorter fight if with Aegon, because by now you're a lot more ramped up, a lot more combo, and you're doing a lot more damage. Or you come in with Archangel again and you shut down the healing. So those are your kind of two strategies. But the reason I used Aegon is because when you come to the final boss, he has Caltrops. He has precision, he has Caltrops. Now this guy is a skill drone, and he's basically, like we said before, Cyclops, right? Cyclops is SB1, Cyclops is SB2. So I don't know if you've watched earlier in the vid, but if you haven't watched earlier in the vid, if you're not familiar with evading Cyclops as SB1 and SB2, or you're not good with them, I would highly recommend Dork Diggity Dave's video. He's got one on how to evade the SPs, and it's very, very good. And I would say for this one, for the first one in map 2, you could block your way through it. For this one, I highly recommend you learn how to evade it properly, because he's got precision, and if you start blocking, if you get into like a bad RNG where he plays quite defensively and he's got a few precision charges, if he throws that SB and you get hit, or even when you're blocking, if it hits your block, you're going to take a lot of chip damage with that precision going through. So I'd highly recommend that you learn how to evade it. And the reason I used Aegon is he can kind of shake off Caltrops a little bit. At this point in time, you're probably sitting at 300, maybe 400 combo. Maybe more if you're using a 4-star Aegon. And you can basically shake off your debuffs on your next crit, which is almost guaranteed to be like the next one, right? So you can, when you dash back, you get Caltrops, you get bleed for about 6 seconds, but you can just turn right back around, hit this drone, and shake off the debuff straight away. And so that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it, of course, is using Archangel for the entire line, shutting down the entire healing, and then bringing someone who can maybe do a lot more damage, who maybe is more bleed immune. So Korg or Iceman, for example, will work great against this guy. Omega will work great as a secondary option. If you have a very stacked Omega as well, you could probably ruin this line. A lot of options against this guy. I prefer Aegon personally, but yeah, you can use multiple other options. The other one I also don't mind using is Havoc against this guy. You have to be a little bit careful to make sure that you play aggressively. You don't dash back as often with him, but if you can build Havoc and the prowess charges up, you can, with one SP3, you can kind of take out this guy, especially a stacked rank 5 Havoc. So, but I think I used Aegon to one-shot this guy multiple times. And then once you're done with that, then that's chapter 1. You've got your first rank 2 to 3 gem, and you're on your way. And I would say that this chapter, I feel like you can do it with maxed out 4 stars. You don't necessarily need 5 stars. Now, I know 5 stars are becoming a lot more prevalent in the game, and it's becoming a lot easier to get them, and people are tackling this content now with 5-star rank 4s and 5-star rank 5s. One more thing I would say is I would probably wait until I can finish Uncollected, until I'm Cav, Uncollected and Cav probably, and until maybe I have a couple of 5-star rank 4s under my belt before I start to tackle this content. Definitely before Ultron's Assault. By this time you should probably have at least one rank 5 as well. But that will take you through completion, and we'll come back with an exploration guide. Now hopefully this helped you guys. If it did, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share it with your friends, share it with your alliance. And I'm gonna ask you for a little bit of help now. I don't know what's the more useful format for you guys. I'm thinking about putting in all my one-shots in a video, um, or putting every boss as a one-shot in a very short video. So would you prefer like chapter 1, how to one-shot the boss, or would you prefer, okay, what a video of chapter 1, map 2, and map 3 all together, and it's just one long video? The other thing I want to ask is, would you like to see a full completion run, like a full run, starting from like maybe an itemless run as well, starting from chapter 1 right until the end of completion of chapter 3, or maybe chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Whatever you guys would find useful, just put it down in the comments below, and whatever you guys vote, I'll probably try to make a video to cover that. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Ka kite anno, bros and girls.